Hello there everyone, this is lavoncason here, back at it again with another YouTube video, and Shawn Layden said something interesting, basically saying game prices should have increased with every generation. So Layden on $80 games noted that price of premium games had remained the same for around 20 years, this despite inflation and increased development costs. I think it's because everyone's afraid, said Layden. No one wants to be the first one to raise the price because you're afraid to lose traffic. So what you do is you just end up eating into your own operating income, your profit margin. He added there were a lot more sports cards in the parking lot in the PS1 era than there were in the PS4 era, because if you're selling 20 million units at $60 for something that only costs 10 million to make, that's different than selling 20 million units at $60 for something that costs you 160 million to make. Layden said that the prices of a game should have increased gradually with every generation. However, the industry has put everything into growth, thinking as long as we grow, even though we're not making money, somehow we can't die. So this is a very interesting take, because I guess, going back to the PS1 era, I guess, games should have just been $50. Then the PS2 would have been $60. Then the PS3 and 360 would have been $70. PS4 and Xbox One would have been $80. And PS5 and Xbox Series era, the console generation that we are in right now, would have been $90. And at this point, people are going to have a cutoff point with these video game prices. I'm thinking, people are just, at this point, ain't feeling the $70 and $80 games like that. So people are just going to wait for sales. People are just going to pirate games, things of that nature. And people are just going to look into other hobbies and, worry about other priorities, such as, paying their bills and groceries, things of that nature. So, yeah. The cost of construction is way too high, he stated. If you're going to spend over $200 million to build a game, your margins are super tight. Unless you can expect to sell 25 million units, unless you're a rockstar, you should not expect to sell 25 million units. The industry has tried other ways to increase revenue by release of DLC, microtransactions, battle passes, season passes, and more, according to Layden. I think, regardless, I think if the prices were, $90, I still think that there would have been DLC, things of that nature, microtransactions like those, that stuff would have still have happened. They said, okay, if we maintain the price, then we nickel and dime you with DLC, microtransactions, battle passes, season pass, whatever you want to call it, and try to make up the excess there, said Layden. At this point, man, people at this point are just going to have to pick which one is more important. Necessities such as groceries and paying your bills, or spending money to play these video games. And at this point, I think a lot of people are going to pick the necessities, paying the groceries and paying those bills versus spending, $80 and above to play these video games. Some people might do that, but a lot of people, I think $70 to $80 is pretty much the cutoff point when it comes to spending on video games. So, yeah, I think people are glad. I think there's probably some people out there that are glad that Shawn Layden is not the PlayStation boss anymore at this point. There's probably some people out there. And again, I think some people would resort to pirating and things of that nature, or waiting for sales, because paying $70 to $80 or even above that is just not necessary. It's just not needed to some people out there. So, Yeah, that's how I feel at this point. People are just going to resort to pirating. People are just going to wait for sales, things of that nature, or people just going to go off and do a new hobby instead of, gaming at this point. But how do you guys feel? Let me know in the comment section below this YouTube video. This is lavoncason signing out. In peace, and thanks for watching. Bye.